Okay, here's a different review for you today. Do a lot of tools, tool reviews, look at tool kits and stuff I've bought over the years. This is a little different. In my opinion, the best barbecue you can buy for the money on the Australian market today, if you're prepared to do a little work, unless you get a really good one. This is a 30-year used review of a Barbeques Galore Turbo 4-burner barbecue. This is circa about 1989 to 1991. The reason I know that is because my father bought one of these barbecues back then, and he still has it. This isn't it. This isn't it, but he's still got his barbecue, Galore's barbecue. His looks a little different to this. This has got the red enamel hood, obviously, and his still has the original red tiles, gloss tiles that sit in here on the platforms either side of the barbecue. His still has those. This barbecue I purchased off Gumtree in Melbourne for the grand total sum of $15, and it didn't look like this when I bought it. But anyway, $15, and it did have the original red gloss tiles that sat in the frame here, but there was a couple of tiles missing, and they were all loose and higgledy-piggledy stacked in the barbecue. I pulled them out and gave them to Dad, so he's got some spares. And this one I've rebuilt in here. So I bought this in about 2008, 2009. So it's about 10 years, 12 years old to me. 12 years old to me if I bought it in 2008. And I used it as my daily barbecue ever since then. When I bought it, it was in rough shape. As I said, this was all fallen to pieces. It didn't have anything on the inserts in the side tables. The barbecue was skewed down. It wasn't mounted well. But all I really did was just lifted it up and kind of sat it square, put a couple of extra screws in it to hold it together. This is the original frame. This is the original hardwood frame that they were sold with. I know this because, again, my father's barbecue has exactly the same frame. So I just put a couple of extra screws in it, and I used it as it was for the last circa 10 years. Now, I bought another turbo barbecue. I bought a later model with a full stainless steel hood and a rotisserie burner in the back of it for $50 off eBay, that one. And that one is now my primary barbecue. And this has sat in the shed since I bought that. And over summer I thought I'd see if I could pull it back. It has been through a number of moves. It's moved home with me. It came from Melbourne and came up to regional New South Wales, and has moved 3 times, I think, 2 or 3 times since then. And the last move was particularly unkind for it. When I got the new one for $50 off eBay, the supports that held the barbecue up were completely gone. This was sitting down on a bolt underneath it, basically resting on the gas bottle on the other side. I knew it needed some reinforcing and rebuilding, and I chose to retire it. Then over summer I thought I'd put it back together again and do it up. We do have a use for a lot of barbecues at harvest time with workers and stuff. Everyone's keen to have a barbecue in the evening, so we do have a couple of barbecues about. I have a couple of turbos, which I'll come to later. So I thought I'd do it up for that purpose. And I'm shocked at how well it came up. So, original red enamel hood. This is all original. The original dials, they're all original. Original starter. It's still going, although it needed to be cleaned out and remounted. The mount behind it had come off. There was a circlip on there that was gone, but remounted that. The frame was in bad shape. I completely disassembled it, took it completely to pieces. This is hardwood. I think it's Jarrah, whatever. It's a hardwood. Pulled it down, pulled every piece apart, every bolt out of it. That was the hardest bit of restoring it. A lot of the bolts in there were seized, turned a lot of heads off. Had to go in there and pull the bolts out. That was a real pain. Had 10mm bolts in it. All the bolts in it were all 10mm bolts. Pulled all them out, and I put in some heavy bolts, new zinc bolts all through it, holding it together now. part of the one of the legs that the wheel sits on, it had a big chunk out of it, so the wheel was loose. Built a new piece for that out of Merbo, glued it in, sanded it all back nice, gave it a good sand, reassembled it, as I said, with the new bolts in it. So there's the only new wood are these plates here, which is just some Merbo decking that are sitting in the original frame where there was originally tiles here. That is new. There's some reinforcing, some wedges and stuff underneath, cut out of Merbo, hidden. You can't see it from the outside, but it is there just to make it a bit more structurally rigid. But apart from that, this is completely original. It may have had a gas line change. I don't know, that would probably not be uncommon for 30-year-old barbecue. And this thing's sat outside for its entire life. The previous owner, he was an old fella, just didn't use it anymore, sitting down the back of his yard, he's cleaning out stuff, wanted it gone. But he said he bought it. It was basically white, it was all grey white. The wood wasn't in great shape when I bought it, but sanding it back, oiling it, has just brought it up amazing. It just looks brilliant. Enamel hood, I gave this a really good polish just with a automotive cut and polish product, and buffed it up, and it's come up really, really nice. It's got the original 4 burners. Hood's all in good nick. That's the original grilling plates and flat plate. That's original. It's had this probably came with briquettes. Probably you probably had to put some in. It's got some more modern stones inside it on the grilling plate. The grilling plate is original. I pulled all that, brushed that down with a wire brush, and I've painted it with high temperature heat paint. And the burners, I don't know that they're original, but they certainly look, they're the old cast burners. You can buy replacement burners for these barbecues, but I think they're the original. I'm not sure, possibly not. But in any event, this is remarkable. This barbecue is 30 years old. I had to help a friend move the other day, and he's got one of these modern, very light steel, I'd call tin barbecues that have come out of Bunnings or whatever cheap purveyor, Big W, Kmart barbecue purveyor nowadays. And there's not as much steel in that whole barbecue as there is in the hood of this barbecue. This is an astonishing piece of Australian engineering. I went back, my dad had hit in his barbecue, 2 of his burners rotted out. Well, they stopped. I reckon we probably could have brought them back, but in any event, he wanted 2 new burners. I went to Barbeques Galore in the early 2000s, I reckon. And so maybe about 2004 or something, I don't know, somewhere around there. And I asked him, I said, look, I want to get some new burners. It's a really old barbecue. And they said, well, what is it? I said, I don't know what model it is. And they said, well, can you tell me what it looks like, any distinguishing features? I said, all I can tell you is it has a bright red hood and it has Turbo written across the front of it. And he said, I know what that is, no worries. Got them on the shelf, there you go, 2 new burners. Oh, okay. And he said, how's the barbecue going? I said, it's great. It's Dad's barbecue. Whenever he barbecues, that's the barbecue he uses. And that's true today, by the way. And he said, yeah, he said the biggest problem with those barbecues is Barbeques Galore made them too good. They're a barbecue you buy once, and if you look after it, it'll look after you for the rest of your life. And I find that incredibly true. Like 30 years is pretty much life. I mean, it's not life. If you buy one at 20, 30 years, it's going to see you the rest of life. But that's astonishing for a barbecue, especially in today's disposable barbecues. They're made of cheap, crappy tin. They're really not well made. This thing, just brilliantly made, 30 years old, and this is more rigid. The grill surface, underneath the burners, all cleaned back and painted. If you looked after this barbecue, I have very, very little doubt that you could keep this going for another 30 years. I have very little doubt of that at all. So this is the kind of barbecue that it's too good now. It's really come up amazing. After I cleaned all the inside of it out, and then what I did was I turned all the burners on, got it firing at full blast. I got it's still got the temperature gauge in it, got it all the way up past 700. Really got it red hot, and it burned up any extra smoke for a bit, and burned up all the extra grease, and then it went the grease and the grime and all that just turned to ash, more or less like a pyrolytic oven, and I just wiped it out. And it's just amazing, this barbecue. I have a later model as well. As I said, I've got a few barbecues. We use a few barbecues at harvest time for employees and stuff want to have a barbecue after work. And I bought a number of second-hand turbo barbecues. I've got one, which is my principal barbecue, which is a much later model, it's a stainless model with a rotisserie burner, which is the principal reason I use that. I'd be more than happy to use this. I do like the rotisserie burner, which may be a subject for a video another day. But in any event, I have 2 of these barbecues, and they have black hoods. There was a model after this that had a green hood, and then there was, after that they have a black hood. They have an alloy-looking, kind of chrome-looking handle on it. Doesn't have the timber on it anymore, but still with the heavy hardwood frame. I have 2 of those, and they're still going as well. And they're outside barbecues. They're used by staff. They're not particularly well looked after, and they're still going strong. They're just remarkable barbecues. And the reason I thought I'd do this video is after helping my mate move house and moving his barbecue, if you're in the market for a barbecue, you can do, I don't think you can do much better than this. Like, if you want to go in for the big bucks and buy something really specialty, like there's some wonderful barbecues out. The Ziegler and Brown, the Barbeques Galore market, the Turbo Classic, and especially the Elite, is a beautiful barbecue, but thousands and thousands of dollars. There's a couple high-end barbecues that are just magnificent. I don't really want to drop, I do a lot of barbecuing, but I don't want to drop thousands of dollars on a barbecue. I bought this one for $15. I bought the other ones for, I bought my big stainless turbo for $50. My other ones I bought for between $20 and $100. One of them I did go to $100, it had a side burner on it. That's astonishing. And with a bit of time to clean them up, if they've been well looked after, you probably can put them straight into use. My brother-in-law bought a turbo barbecue, and it had been well looked after. He paid a bit more for it because it was a modern barbecue, and it had been well looked after, and he didn't want to clean it up, so he paid a little bit more, got a clean one, put it straight into use at his place. And but the old ones, these ones, they've got this lovely heavy frame. They are heavy to move around, but I prefer that personally, a nice firm frame. You can chop stuff on them if you want to. You can put basically, anything, you bring your big pork roast or whatever you're doing, not going to have any problems holding that up. It's nice and sturdy. If you don't mind a bit of work, you could buy a rough one and you could restore it I do regret not getting some photos of this before I did it. It was just really bad nick. If you looked at it, you would have said that barbecue's only worth $15 and I wouldn't buy it. But this is all that, these are the only bits I've added apart from a little bit of reinforcing and new bolts. Everything I had, this is old decking, it's just stuff I had lying around. To bring up this quality of barbecue, I'm a big advocate for it. And if I was in the market for a barbecue today, if you said, oh look, I want to drop a couple $100 on a barbecue, in my opinion, and you suit yourself, this is only my personal opinion, rather than going down to Big W, Bunnings or whatever to buy a cheap barbecue, what I would do is I would get on your Facebook Marketplace, or Gumtree, or eBay, or whatever your online classified of choice is, and look for a turbo barbecue. If you want to get a vintage one like this is the oldest type of design that I've seen. You want to get a really old one like this, I think you'll be well served. Check out the things that could be expensive on them. If the burners are completely rotted out, they're completely rusted, they're heavy cast burners, it should be okay with that. If you don't know how to get a burner out, all you do is you just, if you take your grill plates out, all you do is you just pull it forward a little bit and it'll lift straight out. Check the holes in the side of it, make sure they're not rusted and you've got 2, 3, 4 of them all joined together, that they're all individual holes. If they've got some corrosion on it, that's nothing you shouldn't be able to get off with a wire brush. Check out your burners, that could cost you a bit to replace your burners. Barbeques Galore do some stainless steel ones. You can buy different ones now, you don't have to get the old cast steel ones. Or you can upgrade again to the quartz barbecue, barbecue burners that are featured in the new the new Elite barbecue, which are some lovely burners if you want to spend the big bucks on burners, but this is about keeping things cheap. So you can go the cheap option as well. Your igniter, that might need replacing, and your LPG bottle lead might need replacing. So have a look at that. But even so, like even if you paid triple what I paid for this and paid $50 for a weekend of some bolts, maybe a new gas line and an igniter, for $100 you're going to have a really high quality barbecue that is going to last you an inordinate amount of time. As I said, I've got very, very little doubt that keeping this thing well maintained, this barbecue here, I could get 30 years out of it more if I wanted to. What I'm going to do with this barbecue is I often barbecue in the shed where we are right here if we have some friends over. This is going to be the shed barbecue. It's too good to put out in the field. I think it's just come up a treat. And there's a bit of sentimentality to it because it's the same barbecue that my dad bought and still has. And Dad actually laments that he probably needs to go and do the same thing with his barbecue because my barbecue is a little better than his now, although his is in great shape. It really, some of the timber on this, you know, has weathered, and you can notice it a little bit. His has always been kept under a barbecue cover. It probably is a little bit better, but really for the most part, I've got no complaints. So if you're on the market for a barbecue, in my opinion, the best value barbecue you can buy in Australia, $50 and less. Keep an eye out for one. I did have a look a little while ago and I did find a couple for sale in that price range on Gumtree in proximity to me. Absolute steal. I would do it again in a heartbeat. Would I? That's generally the catalyst of doing these videos. I want to come to the conclusion, would I buy this again? Would I buy this again at $15? Yes, I would. The other Turbo barbecues that I own, my stainless one with the rotisserie burner, would I pay $50 for that again? Yes, I would. The other ones I have in the field that I paid up to $100 for, would I do that again? Yes, I would. In fact, if my kids were leaving home tomorrow and they wanted a barbecue, if I didn't have this barbecue to give them, if that was something I wanted to do, I would be more than happy to drop a couple of $100 on one of these barbecues partially restored or in good shape to give to them if I was going to do that, for them to head off and have a barbecue that's going to last them an inordinate amount of time. I hope that was useful. It was a lot of fun kind of going down memory lane.